بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه وسلم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Honorable brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Didn't hear too many responses, so let me try it again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah. Hayakum Allahu jami'an. May Allah give all of you life. May Allah bless you and bless this gathering tonight and make it one that is filled with His remembrance and one that we will benefit from, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah to give us the understanding and the love for the knowledge of His religion. Honorable brothers and sisters in Islam, the heroes of Islam, talking about the great scholars of this religion, the ones that came before us and who carried the burden of this religion, is not an easy task, because those scholars, they carried so much, they had so much effort, they had so many sacrifices that they made, that even if we tried to enumerate everything we know about their lives, we can never really communicate the effort, the sacrifice they made. We cannot know how much effort and how much sacrifice they made. But it is important for us to revive their stories, to revive the remembrance of these righteous people. Why is it important? Why is it important to learn the biographies of the Imams who came before us, that spread the religion so that we're Muslims today? So that we follow their principles, their morality, their example. And so that our youth especially, they don't follow the evil people, the musicians, and they don't follow the evil example, the corrupt people that are put in the media, that are put in the limelight. These are corrupt people that are put forward as role models, as heroes, as superstars. So for us to revive the stories of these righteous people, we try our best to put these righteous people in the limelight as much as we can, so that our youth will not be misled and follow the example of those people who are corrupt. Yes, we learn from the noble morality. The examples of the morality of our great heroes of Islam, they give us, they energize us to follow in their footsteps. Learning their stories, it energizes the soul. It brings life to the heart. These scholars that came before us, they are alive. Even though they're buried under the earth, their knowledge that they came with is still alive. And yet these other superstars that they show in the movies and TV, they're dead, even though they walk on the earth. They have no contribution to human society. So inshallah, we pray to Allah to make it the hero for tonight, our shaykh, our scholar for tonight. We pray that we learn from his example, inshallah ta'ala. The Imam that we're going to talk about tonight, he is the second of the four great Mujtahid Imams of the four Madahib. He was the second in terms of his chronology. When was he born? He was born in the year 93 after Hijrah. And this great Imam, he was such a pillar of light that people would flock from ends of the earth, from as far away as Morocco in the west, from up north, from Iraq and Persia. They would flock to his gatherings, his circles, in search of knowledge. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that there will be a scholar of Medina, that people will strike the camels from distant lands coming in search of his knowledge. And many ulama, they didn't know, they thought it might have been Zuhri or some of the earlier tabi'een. But then when this Imam, he came to the light, they realized he is the one that the Prophet ﷺ told us about, Who is this great Imam? He is Imam Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anhu. Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anhu, he was originally, his parents were, or grandparents were from Yemen. And that's his name, Asbahi. It was a place, a tribe in Yemen. And his father, or his grandfather, it depends on the narration, they say that he came and he brought him to Medina. They migrated to Medina, and Imam Malik was born in a close by valley nearby to Medina. As a young child, Imam Malik radiallahu anhu, he showed tremendous promise. And this is partly because he came from a family of knowledge. His father was always encouraging his sons to learn knowledge. And Imam Malik, he had a brother. Do you know his name? Nadr. Imam Malik and Nadr, they were two brothers. And in fact, as a child, Imam Malik's father used to encourage Nadr and Malik to compete with each other in knowledge. And oftentimes Nadr would win. And Imam Malik has said he was busy with pigeons, like playing with pigeons and things like that. So because of this competition that his father made, Imam Malik felt embarrassed. He said, I have to go seek knowledge. So it inspired the young boy to want to learn. And this is a lesson for our fathers, that we should encourage our children to compete in seeking knowledge, in learning and memorizing and studying fiqh. Test them. And so that even a father, he might inspire the young child to become a scholar just by questioning him and motivating him to compete with his brothers and sisters in the religion. So his father had a big role to play in that family. And also the mother was a very pious woman. Imam Malik radiallahu anhu, his mother, she used to tell Malik as a boy, go to Rabi'. Rabi' was one of the big imams in the Masjid al-Nabawi al-Sharif. And she said, go there to Rabi' and learn. But before you learn the knowledge from Rabi', learn the manners and adab. Learn how to be a student of knowledge. Learn character from him. Learn his characteristics. And so she was such a wise woman. She wanted to raise Imam Malik with good character, good morals, that he would benefit from that knowledge. She would say, take from his morals, take from his akhlaq, before you take from his knowledge. This is such a wise mother. And this also again shows us the role of the mother in developing the child. The mother, she doesn't just raise the body, give food and milk to raise the body. But the mother can influence and inspire the child to love knowledge. The mother can inspire, build the personality of the child. If the mother can cause the child to have a strong personality and have high aspirations. So if the mother, she does this effort to raise the child upright, she raises not only one righteous child, but if he's an imam, she raises the whole ummah. So the role of the mother is a very, very important role. And this is one of the lessons that we learn from the life of Imam Malik rahimahullah. Imam Malik, did he ever leave Medina? They say that perhaps he only left Medina for Hajj. This is because he was very much attached to Medina. He grew up in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. And it's said that there were over 70 shuyukh that had permanent classes in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. It was a university. And over 1,000 halaqas taking place each day. Can you imagine how many shuyukh? After every salah, all over the masjid there would be circles of knowledge. People learning, sitting with their shuyukh, studying, attaining akhlaq before knowledge, increasing their knowledge and their understanding. So Imam Malik grew up in that environment. From a child, his mother sent him to the masjid. Go and learn. Go to the Prophet's masjid. So this affected the personality of Imam Malik. And we find that later on, this growing up amongst the people of Medina became part of his madhab, part of his school of law. Does anybody know what principle Imam Malik accepted as a source of law that was related to Medina? The Amal Ahl al-Madina. He later on had an influence in his fiqh, because he said that the people of Medina, they are the closest people to the Prophet ﷺ. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ passed away there, and his Sahaba continued to teach there. And Imam Malik, he grew up learning under the 7 great fuqaha of the Tabi'een. There's 7 great fuqaha, we'll mention some of their names. They were the main students of the Sahaba, and they stayed in Medina. Imam Malik, he learned from them. So he was from himself from the first generation, the 93 years after Hijrah. He's from the first Qarn, what the Prophet ﷺ praised, the best generation is mine, then the one after. So he's from that early generation, and he took from the early fuqaha, that the 7 scholars that were settled in Medina. Those were his main teachers. Even though he lived a life of poverty as a child, he was able to seek knowledge due to the help, of course, of his mother and his parents. Imam Malik later on, he also used to encourage his students to learn manners and akhlaq before knowledge. He said to one of his nephews, he said, "Oh my nephew, go and learn akhlaq before you learn knowledge." And here the shuyukh point out an important concept, and they say that if we take knowledge away from manners and akhlaq and adab, then this would lead to great harm. What is the benefit when a person, if he doesn't have manners, he learns this knowledge, it would lead to people fighting with the scholars. If they don't learn the manners and akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ, the humbleness, the good character, so they might learn some few issues and then start to argue with those around them. That knowledge might lead them to rebel against their parents or against their friends, thinking that they have attained a great knowledge because they don't really have the manners that are associated with it. And today, when we look in the textbooks, they've stripped the textbooks of manners and akhlaq, and all they have now is information. And this is not the way of our Salaf as-Salih. Our Salaf as-Salih, they would begin with adab and akhlaq. The Prophet ﷺ himself, he was وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. He was teaching the Sahaba how to be upright in character. And that's part of ilm itself. Part of the knowledge that he passed on was the akhlaq. كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. So this was an important aspect of the life of Malik, that we see how he grew up in an environment in Masjid Nabawi that was an environment of piety and taqwa. How did Imam Malik seek knowledge? Of course he went to the circles, he went to Masjid Nabawi, but he didn't stop at that. He used to go to the houses of his shuyukh, and some of them were blind, some of them were old. He said, "Can I walk you home?" They said, "Okay." So he'd walk them home and he'd start asking them questions keep on asking questions until he reached their house. Sometimes he would stay there the whole day asking questions from the teachers. He would make the children of the sheikh, he would give them some dates. Imam Malik, he would give the children some dates, and he said, if somebody comes and asks for the sheikh, tell them the sheikh is busy. Because he wanted to have more time with the sheikh. It's true, the sheikh is busy with teaching him. So he would use this kind of dates, so he would have more time with the shuyukh. So he was so committed to his teachers and his shuyukh. One of his shuyukh was Hammad. Hammad was one of the great scholars of Medina. He was in Medina. And by the way, Imam Malik didn't only learn the knowledge of Medina. He did have an understanding of the knowledge of Iraq and Egypt and Syria, because people would come to Medina to visit, and he would get the knowledge. He wasn't ignorant of those things. He knew those things, but he didn't have to travel there physically, because the people were coming to Medina, and he would attain knowledge from them. Another thing we learn about Imam Malik, when we see that he had this pious upbringing in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, this is a lesson for us today about the importance of a good environment. how much a good environment plays in the upbringing, the tarbiyah of a Muslim personality, of our children. If they learn some knowledge in the masjid, and then right away they go out into a bad environment, that corrupt environment will destroy everything they learn. So it shows that a parent, a Muslim parent, should be careful about the environment, because by controlling the environment, making sure the child stays in a good environment, that knowledge that they learn will stay with them. It will have a fruit. But if they learn a little bit and immediately go to a bad place, or bad friends, corrupt friends, that will cancel out any good that they learned and that they attained. So Imam Malik rahimahullah, it's one of the unique aspects. He did not go forward to give fatwa until 70 of the great scholars of Medina told him, you can go and give fatwa. He was attested to by 70 shuyukh. He was only 20 some years old. They told him, yes, go and give your halaqas of knowledge. And Imam Malik rahimahullah, he used to say, it is not everyone that would go to the masjid and give hadith that they are worthy of that. Let the one who wants to seek fatwa sit with the scholars first and the distinguished people. If they see that he is fit for that, then let him do that. And so Imam Malik, he said, I didn't go forward to teach until 70 scholars pushed me forward to teach. He's saying not everybody who learns a few hadith should go forward and start teaching fiqh or teaching fatawa or giving fatwa, And again, this reflects on our own reality today. How many people will see that there'll be a gathering talking about an intricate fiqhi issue, and everybody will say, I think this. No, my opinion is this. Imam Malik or Imam Shafii or Ahmed said this, but I feel that this is what is right. There's a movie, such and such movie. I think it's good. This movie depicting the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead of the scholars have pointed out that this is a dangerous thing to depict the prophets, some people they say, oh, I feel it's good. There's no harm in that. Without any basis of scholarly knowledge, they give a fatwa in such a major issue. Many issues like this. So Imam Malik, he waited till 70 scholars told him go, and then he would allow himself to teach in front of others. Also Imam Malik rahimahullah, he was a scholar of hadith as well as a scholar of fiqh, which is very unique. He was able to combine the two sciences of fiqh and hadith in a very strong way, but he was very, very strong in hadith. And what did Imam Shafii say about Imam Malik? Do you know the beautiful statement he said? Imam Shafii was one of the greatest students of Imam Malik. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago, that Imam Shafii, he came to Medina, he memorized the Muwatta, the book of Imam Malik, and he spent a long time, with Imam Malik, many hours of many days. And Imam Malik was impressed with Imam Shafii. But likewise, Imam Shafii, what did he have to say about Imam Malik? He said, إِذَا جَاءَ الْأَثَرْ فَمَالِكْ النَّجَمْ. He says, if we look at hadith, then Imam Malik is the shining star, the bright star. And what he means by that, like Allah says in the Quran, وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. Right? When you look at the stars at night, when you're traveling in the desert, you look for the star. How do I get to my destination? So when it comes to hadith, what is sahih? What is abrogated? So Imam Malik is the najm. Imam Malik, he'll tell you his knowledge of athar was great. And other scholars, they said, if it wasn't for Malik, لَضَاعَ hadith al-ilm al-Hijaz. If it wasn't for Imam Malik, all of that knowledge would have been lost from the place of the Hijaz. Imam Malik rahimahullah did not hasten to give fatwa. When he was asked a question, sometimes he would tell them, give me some time to think about it. Right? A lot of times we find that somebody will ask a scholar fatwa while he's standing up and expect a quick response. Imam Malik rahimahullah, he wouldn't do that. He would say, let me think about it. And then somebody would ask him, why did you spend so much time thinking about this question? He said, I fear a day when I will be questioned by the questioner, and what a great day it is. So he feared, whatever I say, Allah is going to hold me to account on the Day of Judgment. So he didn't want to say something very quickly. He wanted to take his time. And we'll see some more examples of his humbleness when it came to people would come to him. One of the students came to him and he said, I asked Malik 48 questions, and for 34 of them he said, La adri, I don't know. La adri. And our scholars say La adri is half of knowledge. La adri means I don't know the answer. They say saying La adri is half of knowledge. And a scholar, there's three types of judges. There's three types of judges, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said, a judge who knows and he gives fatwa based on his knowledge, he is in Jannah. There's three types. One is in Jannah and two are in the hellfire. A'udhu billah. The one who has knowledge and he gives fatwa by his knowledge, he's in Jannah. The one who has knowledge but he gives fatwa by other than his knowledge, he's in hellfire. Walayadu billah. And the one who doesn't have knowledge but he gives fatwa based on ignorance, he's also in the hellfire. So Imam Malik rahimahullah, look at his example, beautiful example. Such a great scholar, right? But he didn't hasten to give answers. He would say so often, La adri, I fear a day. I fear the day when I will be asked by the questioner, what a great day it is. This is the way of our scholars. This is the way of our shuyukh. Also Imam Malik rahimahullah, he was very strong and well built. This is just describing him physically. He was very tall. He had a very beautiful appearance. And more of what we learn about his respect for knowledge itself. SubhanAllah, the ulama, they show us how to respect knowledge. When he came to narrate a hadith, when he wanted to narrate a hadith, would he just do it standing? Standing up and just narrate the hadith. Sometimes people would come, say, can you tell me a hadith? What would he do? Remember from the dars of Shafii? He would go first and make a full wudu for salah. After he finished his complete wudu, he would put on his best clothing. He would comb his beard. He would put some nice perfume on, and then he would come out and he would say, this is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. They asked him why. He said, I want to respect and show love and honor for the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So that was his character. He had so much love for the text and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Imam Malik, he had a famous book called the Muwatta. The Muwatta. It's a book of hadith, and he had the opportunity he was asked to compile this book of hadith, and it's considered one of the most authentic texts. And in fact, Imam Shafii, he says this is the most authentic book after the book of Allah. Imam Shafii says the Muwatta is the most authentic book after the Quran al-Kareem, the book of Imam Malik. Imam Malik has a chain of narrators. It's called the golden chain. Have you heard of this before? The golden chain? Malik from his teacher Imam Nafi' an Ibn Umar. Imam Malik from Nafi' from Ibn Umar. So how many people between him and Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? Just two people. That's called the golden chain, Sansala al-Dhahabiyya of Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala. The Muwatta, it was one of the first books of hadith, one of the earliest books of hadith, and it was considered a landmark, a milestone in the science of hadith. And what Imam Malik rahimahullah used to do, some people would ask him about some narrators, and he would tell them, did you find them in my book? in the Muwatta? They said no. Then he said, then know that these are not good narrators. If they're good narrators, I would have put them in my book. Imam Malik rahimahullah, he would refuse to ride horses in Medina. There's a narration that Shafii came to his house and he saw some beautiful Arabian horses at Malik's house. So Imam Shafii, he asked Imam Malik about it. Imam Malik said, take them, they're a gift for you. I don't want to ride an animal, I don't want to put the footsteps of an animal in the city of Medina. I don't want the animal to be running and stepping on the ground in the city of Medina. Some of the quotes of Imam Malik rahimahullah, some of his beautiful quotes is the Sunnah is the ship of Prophet Nuh. The Sunnah is the ship, the ark of Prophet Nuh. Whoever rides it will be saved, and whoever keeps away from it will be destroyed. Beautiful statement of Imam Malik rahimahullah about the importance of adhering to the Sunnah. He also said, knowledge does not consist in narrating so much, but it is a light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah places in the heart. Another statement of Imam Malik, no one renounces the world and guards his nafs except he will end up speaking wise words. So a person, they stay away from the dunya, the worldly life, and they guard their nafs, they constantly check on their nafs. It will be a cause of them to attain hikmah and to attain wisdom. Yes. Which one? The last one? No one renounces the world. No, I don't have the Arabic. This one. I think I might have it later on, inshallah. I think there's another note about it, inshallah. Now, another thing about Imam Malik rahimahullah, when he developed his opinions, he had the opportunity to make his Muwatta the official constitution, the official madhab of the whole ummah. At that time there was the Abbasid Caliphate. The ruler was Harun al-Rashid. So Harun al-Rashid, he came to Imam Malik and he told him, he said, please let me use your Muwatta. I'm going to put it in the Kaaba and make it the official fiqh of this ummah. Everybody will have to follow it. What did Imam Malik say? He refused and he said no. He said that Sahaba spread out in the earth, this is what has come to me from the Sunnah. I don't want to restrain what Allah has made vast. So this is what I have of the Sunnah, and there's others that have others. I don't want to cancel out what the other scholars have. So he didn't restrain, he didn't he didn't accept the offer of Harun al-Rashid. They say Harun al-Rashid, he was a very righteous Khalifa in many ways, but sometimes he was a little bit strict and very, strong in some matters. But he was also a religious person, and he sought the counsel of Imam Malik in many affairs. Now, some more statements here about Imam Malik rahimahullah. لولا مالك لذهب علم الحجاز. If it wasn't for Imam Malik, then the knowledge of the Hijaz, the area of Medina and Mecca, would be lost. And here, this statement, what it tells us about is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places in every time certain scholars that will preserve the religion. It's from the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in every time, in every place, there will be certain scholars that Allah will use to preserve the religion. And not one scholar can always encompass all of the religion, but together as an ummah, what we have is the isma is when the whole ummah agrees on a matter. The Prophet ﷺ said, "La yajtami'u ummati 'ala ad-dalalah." So as a collective body, the scholars together, they preserve the religion. And sometimes there will be certain scholars in certain lands, they have more responsibility or more effect in doing that. So Imam Malik, he was the one who preserved the knowledge of the Hijaz, rahimahullah ta'ala. Also here, they say there was 4 scholars in the time of Imam Malik. They were the greatest Imams of that time. Sufyan al-Thawri, he was in Kufa. He was they said these 4 Imams were preserving the religion, especially at the time. Sufyan al-Thawri was in Kufa. Imam Awza'i, where was he? Beirut in Sham, in Syria and Lebanon. And Imam Malik, he was in Hijaz area. And Imam Hamad, he was in Basra, in Iraq. These were 4 of the great scholars of that time. Now, also here, and Imam Shafii, of course, he praised Imam Malik. He said, Malik mu'allimi wa anhu akhaftu al-ilm. So we know the caliber of Imam Shafii, and he's praising Imam Malik in this way. He's saying, look, I took my knowledge from Imam Malik. So this shows you the status of Imam Malik, and also it shows you that it is not denigrating to praise another scholar, and that our scholars, they didn't feel that they had to be separate. They used to praise the teachers that they learned from, and that actually this is noble, this is something good for one to do that, to praise their teachers and their scholars, and it's not something that would decrease the status of a person. It actually increases his status when he mentions his teachers and his shuyukh. We mentioned that Imam Malik, he would only narrate the hadith when he was sitting, when he was wearing his best clothes, and he wanted to do this to raise the status of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And the opposite of that is when people demean or disgrace symbols of the religion, throwing the mushaf on the ground, for example. If somebody throws a mushaf on the ground, this is an act of kufr. It's an action that is something that is done out of lack of regard. So the Imam Malik, he had the opposite of that. He had the honor. He wanted وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Whoever shows greatness to the symbols of Allah, that shows the taqwa and the piety in the heart. Now, also here we read about Imam Malik. كل من روى عنه مالك ibn Anas فهو ثقة. We talked about the Imam Malik. He only learned from thiqah, and they say that his book, the Muwatta, is asah. The asanid of the Muwatta are all authentic. They are all correct and authentic. Now, also just a few more quotes about Imam Malik rahimahullah. نعم. سمعت مالكا سئل عن 48 مسألة فقال في 32 منها لا أدري. I heard Imam Malik asked about 48 mas'ala. 32 he said لا أدري, I don't know. And another one he said قدمت على مالك ب40 مسألة فسألته عنها فما أجابني منها إلا ب5 مسائل. Another one he says, I came and I asked Imam Malik 40 questions and he only responded to 5. He only gave me the answer to 5 of them. Another a very important narration about Imam Malik is somebody came to him and asked him about whether they said, how did Allah ascend the throne? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ascend His throne? So the narrator, he says, I never saw Imam Malik become so angry. He was very upset and he was quiet for a minute. And then he responded and he said, Al-istiwa ghayr majhool wa al-kayfiyya ghayr maqool wal-iman bihi wajib was-su'al anhu bid'ah. A very amazing answer. When he was asked about one of the sifat of Allah, how did Allah ascend over His throne? Somebody is wondering, Allah says in the Quran many places, Allah created the heavens and the earth and He ascended His throne. So then somebody came and asked Imam Malik, how does Allah ascend His throne? Explain it. So Imam Malik, he became very angry and he said, Allah ascending His throne, it's not unknown, and how He ascended His throne, it is beyond your understanding. It's beyond the aql. The mind cannot encompass Allah's attributes in this world. And then he said, believing in it is an obligation, and asking about it is a bid'ah, is an innovation. Also Imam Malik, he had a famous answer regarding whether one will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in the next world. And he said, yes, people will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next world, because Musa alayhi salam, he asked to see Allah, and he wouldn't ask about something that's impossible. But Allah says, "Lan tarani," you will not see me, meaning in this world. Imam Musa alayhi salam wanted to see Allah in this world, but he wouldn't ask about something that's completely impossible. Rabbi arini anzur ilayk. So he used this as a proof that yes, people will see Allah in the Yawm al-Qiyamah. May Allah make us of them, inshaAllah ta'ala. Naam. One of the scholars, Ibn al-Furat, he says, إِذَا أَرَدْتَ اللَّهَ وَالدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ فَعَلَيْكَ بِمَالِكَ. If you want Allah and the afterlife, then go and learn from Imam Malik. And this is showing you how important it is to learn from him, rahimahullah. Naam. And then they say about the face of Imam Malik, they said, I have not seen a face more radiant and more beautiful than that of Imam Malik. And I never saw anybody stole more white than the thawb of Imam Malik. He used to always say, I love to see the students of knowledge wearing the whiteness of the thawb. That was one of his statements. No. And then it was asked about Imam Malik, what is zuhud? What is zuhud? And he said, طِيبُ الْكَسْبِ وَقَصْرُ الْأَمَلِ. Zuhud means abstinence or, staying away from the worldly life. He said, what is zuhud? He didn't say cutting off from the worldly life, not involving ourselves in the worldly life, but he said very wise words. He said, طِيبُ الْكَسْبِ. Make sure your earnings are halal, and qasr or qisr al-amal. And don't have long dreams and hopes about this worldly life. Keep about the worldly things. Have high aspiration for the religious knowledge of Jazakallah khair. Have the high aspiration for the religious knowledge. Allah So he said, have high aspiration for the akhirah. We should have high hopes, long dreams about the next world. But this world, don't keep our ambitions, not exaggerating in the matters of this worldly life. Also, it says here, some of the narrations about Imam Malik. إن الرجل إذا أخذ يمدح نفسه ذهب بهاء. That if a person praises himself, then his beauty will be lost. A person, as long as he remains humble, then he has such beauty. But once he starts praising himself, then baha, his beautifulness, his beauty will go away from him. Now, also Imam Malik rahimahullah, he lived a long life. He lived a very, very long life. Allah gave him almost 90 years of age. And during that time, he filled the world with much knowledge. He had 4 children, a daughter named Fatima. And some of his children, they used to play a lot. They weren't learning. They wouldn't attend the halaqas. So Imam Malik, he said, knowledge is not hereditary. No. Imam Malik, he was sick for 22 days and he died when he was 87 years old. He was a mufti for 60 years. 60 years as a mufti in Medina. One of the beautiful statements again of Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, he used to say, I met some people in Medina, they had no faults, but they used to speak about other people's faults. So the people would make up faults about them. People started talking bad about them. And he said, I met another group of people in Medina, they had faults, but they didn't talk about other people's faults. They didn't dig up their mistakes and their faults. And so the people kept away from talking about their faults. SubhanAllah, very great words of wisdom. That if a person, they dig up the faults of others, then eventually will return upon themselves. And some scholars, they say that they themselves will fall into that they accused others of. But Imam Malik, he always said, and the people in Medina, they don't complain, they don't criticize others, and Allah prevented others from digging on their faults. Subhanallah. Al-Maliku min hajijillah ala khalqihi. Imam Malik is of a proof of Allah on His creation. Meaning that Allah sent Imam Malik with this knowledge. How can the creation make an excuse? At that place where in Medina, Imam Malik, he spread the knowledge to the people of Medina. So it is a proof, one of the great proofs on the Day of Judgment for the people. Also here they say a couple of things here about, they say that Imam Malik, he saw a dream that the angel of death came to him in a dream. So the angel of death, he asked the angel of death, first of all, one thing to point out is that a dream, the dreams in general are not the basis for any sharia. If there's a narration of a righteous person, it could be taken, it could be correct, it might be incorrect, but generally speaking, it's not the basis for any ilm. It's just maybe some good omen, you could say, a good bushra, you could say. So it's narrated that Imam Malik saw in his dream the angel of death. So he asked him, how long do I have left? And how much time am I going to have in this dunya? So he saw like 5, something like this, like a hand or something like that. So afterwards, Imam Malik, they say that he was worried. Is it 5 years? Or is it 5 months? Or 5 weeks, 5 days? So he actually asked some of the other Sahaba, or some of the other Tabi'een at that time, and they told him the interpretation of it was that there are 5 matters of the ghaib that no one knows. It's not 5 the number, but and Allah says in one ayah in the Quran that He knows the what is in the wombs, and He knows the 5 matters of the ghaib, what will happen tomorrow, and so on. So that was the interpretation that he got. And this also again shows you that the scholars, they communicated with each other and they benefited from each other's company. One other, last narration, somebody, he said that he saw Malik rahimahullah after he had passed away. Ra'aytu Malik, this is Asad ibn Musa. Asad ibn Musa, he said, I saw Malik ba'da mawtihi, and he was wearing a beautiful green robe, which is the robe of the people of Jannah. And he was riding on a horse or a camel, and he was ascending from the earth up to the heavens or something like this. And so I asked him, I said, what happened with you? And he said, I was asked, what would you like? He said, قدمت على ربي وكلمني كفاحا وقال سلني أعطيك وتمني علي أرضيك. That he said, I came to my Lord and He asked me, what would you like? Ask me and I will make you happy, I will please you. So it was a good bushra. Again, the dream, it's a good indication, inshaAllah ta'ala. It could be that this was a true dream, inshaAllah, which shows that Imam Malik had a very good meeting with his Lord, inshaAllah ta'ala. May Allah be pleased with him and show mercy to him and forgive him and all of us, inshaAllah ta'ala. And so this is the life of Imam Malik rahimahullah. He lived a long life, born in Medina, died in Medina, and a life of good manners and akhlaq that he acquired from his mother and his father. It reflected in his way of teaching. He advised the students to always to have good character himself, living a life of noble character and akhlaq and respect for the sha'a'ir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the unique rulings in the Maliki madhab. They say in the Maliki madhab that it is makruh to shave the mustache. And Imam Malik himself, he used to keep his mustache, and he said that this is kind of mutilation if somebody shaves his mustache. That was his view, that it was part of muru'ah, part of manhood, not to grow a long mustache, that's against the sunnah, but it's also, he didn't agree with shaving the mustache. In the Ahnaf it is mustahab, it's allowed in the Hanafi school. These are different views. Again, when we look at the scholars and the difference of views that they have, it's not a single right answer, but actually the answer is in all of them together. When we say where is the truth, it is when you put all of the ulama together, that is the truth. It's not one madhab is only on the truth, the other are wrong. All of the madhab, when we take the ulama of this ummah together, like we mentioned in the beginning of the halaqah, then that is where the religion will be right, inshaAllah ta'ala. Any questions about the madhab about Imam Malik or about his life? Yes, brother. Wa iyyakum, barakallahu feekum. I was just thinking about has anybody ever tried to work out how much of the deen was agreed upon between these four imams, and what was the difference opinion? I heard, I'm asking this question because I heard some scholars say that 95% they are agree. All the four imams they agree. 95% of the deen. Only the difference of opinion is only 5%.
Jazakallah khairan. I hope we don't have to have a long debate, on this issue, because of course when you talk about madhahib, and people tend to, feel strongly about certain things. But inshallah, the scholars basically, the origin of the madhahib itself go back to the time of the Sahaba, and these were the differences in the afham and the understanding of the Sahaba. If we look at for example, the madhab of Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, you remember which Sahabi migrated to Kufa? Ibn Mas'ud radhiyallahu anhu. So much of the madhab of the Hanafi madhab was in the understanding that was in the mind of Ibn Mas'ud radhiyallahu anhu. And likewise the other scholars, each of them they took from the Sahaba. And in the differences in the minds of the Sahaba, which we would call today the differences in usul, or the differences in ways of deriving rulings, that is something the Prophet ﷺ did not try to abrogate. We talked about this morning. The Prophet ﷺ did not abrogate those differences in the way they understood the Islamic law, which gives us the indication that this is something that Allah intended. If He wanted to make the religion one clear hukum on every issue, He could have allowed that, and the Prophet ﷺ could have clarified that at the time of the Sahaba. But when they differed on some matters, such as the journey that they made to Bani Quraydah, famous narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, do not pray the Salat al-Asr until you reach Bani Quraydah. So some of the Sahaba, they took that to mean that it means hasten and don't pray now here, but go to Bani Quraydah and pray there, don't delay. It means hasten, go quickly. And some of the other Sahaba, they said, no, what this means is hasten, but if the time of, if the Asr time is going to come in, if the Asr time comes in, we still delay it. It's not just hastening, it's a literal command. Don't pray it. It's an absolute nahi. Don't pray it until you reach Bani Qurayza. So these two groups of Sahaba, they differed, they understood the text differently. You could say one had more of an understanding based on qiyas with the Quran and the other commandments of praying Asr. Especially in the Quran it says, حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى. Salat al-Asr is very strongly emphasized in many hadith, that whoever misses Asr as if he lost all of that possession. So some of them, they understood it that way. The others, they took the literal interpretation of what he said. When they arrived in Bani Qurayza, this is what is very important to understand. The Prophet ﷺ, he did not say you were right or you were wrong. He acknowledged both of them, that they each had their understanding, and he did not say this one was right, this one was wrong. He said both of you fine, whatever you did. He left it. And we know that in the principles of Islamic law, that it is not possible for the Prophet ﷺ to delay clarification beyond the time that is needed. If it was needed to clarify that, he would have done it. Which means that he left it there based on some wisdom, some rahmah, or some mercy for the ummah. Which is what our scholars say now, the differences of our mujtahideen are rahmah. And if human beings by nature, their minds, the way they understand things, it is not possible to understand every single text in only one way. It's the nature of human beings, it's the nature of the way that we understand things. And this was present in the Sahaba. So, and the Sahaba, they each follow the others in their ijtihadat. And that means that there's ijma', that it is okay to follow the ijtihad of someone who differs with your ijtihad. Because each of them prayed behind the other. None of the Sahaba refused to pray saying, I have a different ijtihad, I'm going to pray separately. They each stayed, they all acknowledged the other's ijtihad, they were trying their best. And so what our scholars, they say is that this means that the Muslim, that these differences that we have in understanding, they are not something that we can eradicate. The Prophet ﷺ didn't do it, and it's not something that we are required to do. What we're required to do is follow on the pathway of our predecessors and follow these different madahib that exist, as the mujtahideen, to get to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and inshaAllah ta'ala. Jazakallah khair. Any other questions? Inshallah. Yes, tafadhal, brother. The quote on the Zuhd, I couldn't find the Arabic, inshallah. The one that he said the definition of Zuhd is طيب الكسب وقصر الأمل. Amal, hopes. Not having طول الأمل, they say, like having dreams of having huge castle, or becoming a huge king and having big kingdom, keeping one's hopes for worldly things limited, but having huge hopes of the next world, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah khair. Yes, brother.
Is it right to call oneself
Jazakallah khair. Question is it right to call oneself Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi'i? Here the scholars, what I've heard from the ulama is that we shouldn't make ourselves into groups. We should, the meaning is, what is intended is that I follow this school of law as a pathway to the knowledge, the methodology of knowledge. This is the pathway that I follow, which is correct, but at the same time one should not negate the other ones and say that this is the only right way. It's okay that one follows, that one should follow that pathway, but at the same time, not that saying there's no other correct way. So using the names, sometimes I hear the scholars saying that it's not good to use these terminologies in a way that would divide us into groups. Because Allah says in the Quran, وَهُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, He's named us the Muslims. So, so we have to, inshallah, we should use wisdom when using, but the fact that we follow these madahib is very important, because that's how we get to the knowledge from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's how we can, we have to follow those madahib. So it's not that, the problem is not with the madahib, it's the problem with when one negates the other. And I heard one of the shuyukh was saying that sometimes, many times you have more than one right answer. You can have more than one right answer. For example, somebody asks you, what is the dua of istiftah? What would you say? What is the answer?
There's a lot.
You tell me the dua of istiftah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdih. Anybody else? Allahumma ba'id bayni wa bayna khataya. Yes, there's many. So each of you said a right answer, but each of you said a different answer. So sometimes, what the scholars they say that the truth is when the mujtahid he follows his dalil. That is the right answer for him. And that one ijtihad doesn't negate another ijtihad. That when a mujtahid he comes to a conclusion based on his evidence, he's rewarded for that. And another mujtahid he comes to a different conclusion, he's rewarded for that. So that these are all, they're not following, they're not mistaken or wrong or being punished for that. This is part of the mercy of this deen, inshallah. But it is a good point and a good question that some people, even you hear some people say that so and so is Salafi. He says, my name is Muhammad as-Salafi. And so you hear the shuyukh, they say that it's not good to use that terminology, because it's actually praising oneself. I follow the Salaf, I'm righteous like the Salaf were. That's an action that one has to do. But it's also implying as if Abu Hanifa was not following the Salaf, or Shafii or Malik or Ahmad were not following the Salaf. They were also, when we look at their methodology, they were 100% committed to following the Salaf as-Salih. None of them brought their hawa. If any of these imams brought their hawa, they would have been thrown away the first day. But they are our salaf. They are our salaf. For us, they are our salaf, and for them, they had their salaf. And we hear the dua, Allahumma ja'alna khayrul khalaf bi khayr salaf. Let us be the good ones that follow the ones that came before us. So actually, for us to be rightly guided, we need to learn from them. And for them to be rightly guided, they learned from their shuyukh, and they didn't add anything new. And the same thing for us. We have to avoid deviating from our predecessors and bringing new things into the religion, inshallah ta'ala. Any other questions, inshallah? Yes?
How many hadiths are there in Muwatta?
The Muwatta, I don't know. La adri. I know it's a smaller collection. It's smaller than Bukhari. Bukhari includes most of the hadith of the Muwatta in his Bukhari, because it was through one of his teachers, through Shafii and through Imam Ahmad and so on. So he includes the Muwatta hadith in the Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari, I believe, is almost 3,000 hadith, 2,500. I'm not sure. Do you know how many hadith in the Muwatta?
I think it's 8,000 with the chains.
In the Muwatta?
No,
Bukhari, with all the different chains, yeah. But there's about roughly 3,000 different texts. But in the Muwatta, how many? I think less than 1,000. Yeah, less than 1,000. I think 600, something like that. I can't remember offhand, inshallah. It's on the shelf, we can look it up. These were actually, some people, they say that, is Muwatta more authentic than Bukhari? And the answer is that Bukhari includes the Muwatta in it. Because the hadith that are in the Muwatta, it reached Imam al-Bukhari. He was 100 years later. Imam al-Bukhari came 100 years later after Imam Malik. So actually Muwatta is much earlier, and so it gives it more some more virtue.
Hadith book ever.
There's other hadith book, they say they were even written in the time of the Prophet. Yeah, but it's the first.
The first one meant for publishing.
Maybe you could say that it's the first, one of the first. You could say that was, that collected the chapters of fiqh, the hadith under the fiqh headings. But there were some compilations of hadith even before the time of the Muwatta. They say even in the time of the Sahaba, some of them wrote down the hadith. But that wasn't the only way that the hadith was preserved. A lot of people in the West, the Orientalists, will say the hadith, Imam Bukhari didn't come until more than 200 years after the Prophet and until he wrote it down. But that doesn't mean those hadith didn't exist. The hadith existed. Imam Bukhari just compiled it. He didn't add anything. He just collected the chains and the narrators and the text. The science of hadith existed, and it was well known, and there were scholars of hadith. Imam Malik was one of the greatest ulama of hadith, without a doubt. So, it existed even since the time of the Sahaba, that the science existed. By the way, good thing you remind me, Imam Malik was one of the greatest scholars of ilm al-rijal. Ilm al-rijal means he knew the status of the narrators. If this one had a good memory, if this one had a deficiency in his adala, in his righteousness, he was an expert in that field. That's why people used to ask him, is this narrator good? He said, is he in my book? No. Jazakallah khair. Any other comment, question? Inshallah.
I was going to say that somebody that says that they are Hanafi or Maliki or Shafii, that's certainly better than somebody that follows their hawa. That indicates they're following our ulama around. So I think that's a very noble characteristic, very discreet. So that they're indicating that they're following our shuyukh and ulama before.
Jazakallah khair. Yes, that's true. When we find many of our Sahaba, many of our Salaf, at the end of their name, like Ibn Rajab, Al-Hanbali. Every book says Ibn Rajab, Al-Hanbali. So that was his madhab. So, and we have Al-Izza bin Abdul Salam, Al-Hanafi. Sometimes they would use that name just to indicate their school of law. Just like my father's here, they always write after the name Aligarh. He graduated from Ali. They write, this is a school that you went to. And that shows you that they have their school of law that they're following. So yes, it's a good point, Sheikh Sajid, that it's just a school it's not to indicate that I'm a separate group. And this is an important point too, is that al-khilaf of the heart is haram. Khilaf between the hearts is completely haram. وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. The Sahaba, their hearts, they didn't have khilaf of the hearts. Khilaf of the ijtihad is permissible. The Sahaba had that. But it never led to them attacking one another or not being united with each other. There's two different things. Khilaf that is of the hearts is something strongly prohibited in Islam, and the khilaf of the ijtihad is something that is warid, that exists and it is allowed, inshaAllah. But yes, it's good that following these madahib is obligatory, and one following their hawa, we find some people that negate the madahib and they say we don't need these madahib. So in fact what that person is doing is he's deleting all of our scholarly legacy and placing himself on top of all of that. That's basically what he's doing. If somebody, he says, we don't refer to these scholars and their ijtihadat, I'm going to make my own ijtihadat or istinbat, then he's basically putting himself at the top of the chain, that I am able to derive rulings better than these scholars did. And so that is obviously a person is not capable of doing that in this time and age, or he doesn't have as much blessing as they did, because they were much earlier. And so, and in many cases, most of the cases you find, people end up that this is just an excuse to follow their own personal feelings. It's an excuse that people use, and one has to be, one has to negate, realize their status amongst people. Just like Imam Malik, he said, I didn't want to give fatwa. Then all of my scholars, they pushed me forward. They said, go and give fatwa. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he says, أَجْرَأَكُمْ عَلَى الْفُتْيَا أَجْرَأَكُمْ عَلَى النَّارِ. The one who hastens most to fatwa, he hastens most to the hellfire. It's a very serious thing. Giving fatwa is a very, very serious thing. And some people, they say we have a lot of engineers and Muslims, a lot of doctors, but more than everything else, we have a lot of muftis. And that's actually a problem, very, very serious problem. This is a serious issue actually, that we have as an ummah. We don't have respect for scholarship. We have respect for other academic positions. We have respect for people but if an engineer, he started giving out medicine to people. He said, oh, you're sick, I'm an engineer. You're sick, here, let me give you some medicine. What would happen to people? This is what we have today. We have people who are specialized in other fields, in secular fields, they're giving out medicine, giving out fatwas. So this is why our ummah, we have so many problems. We need to put respect where it belongs, to our scholars and our shuyukh, inshallah. May Allah help us to have more knowledge and understanding and hikmah and devotion. And to our shuyukh, may Allah reward them ahsan al-jaza. May Allah make us of the good khalaf or the good salaf al-salih, inshallah. Wa jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamualaikum. How are you doing? Assalamualaikum. How's it going? Battery died? Oh, okay. That's alright. I have the audio. I think I should. Oh, I didn't bring the cord. I didn't get a chance to charge it. Listen, I have the audio. What I can do, I can splice in the audio to the end. So it'll be like the video and it'll cut off. It'll just be a screen. Yeah. If it's good, if you think it's